not want to do this introduction. So, the leadership panel, what we were asking of these 4 women is to basically show us the leadership that Chief June Black just showed us. The truth speaking they have to do every day, the grief they have to carry on our behalf into rooms that don't even understand what they're saying, and the incredible relationships that they have to build to be able to help communities and to help Indigenous women. The leadership these 4 women offer us every day is unbelievable. And what we have to learn is how to honor them, how to be in relationship to them when we don't see them, when we know they're off doing that, which really will reinforce what we want to talk about today, which is no more lateral violence, no more hatred, just love for our leaders. So I'm going to ask these 4 very fine women to come up. Chief June Black pretty much needs no introduction at this point. See? Come on. Next, we want to invite Jamie Black-Morissette. So how many of you know about the Red Dress Project? How many of you been to a May 5th Red Dress Day? To imagine that someone, through their art, has created story that gives us all visibility. Jamie, we thank you so much. Such a gift you've offered us all. And then Grand Chief Linda DeBosque of the Anishinaabe Nation. She's already up here. Do you mind lifting up She Is Wise? So, Linda is in the front cover of She Is Wise. I'm just going to do a little promotion for her. She is, Ingrid wrote the story about her. She's incredible. So if you don't know her, read about her. And if anyone was at the AMA AGA, she made us cry, she made us laugh, she got us really angry, and she made us fierce warriors. That's what she does. And then finally, I'm going to invite Stephanie Mickey Adams. So Mickey is, well, she's a very close friend. She's the co-chair of the Ottawa Aboriginal Coalition, so I work with her very closely. She's also the executive director of Inuit. And we, as a team, are building the first VAW Inuit shelter south of Inuit Nunigat in Ottawa. I'm inviting our fearless leader, Stan, to come and do the panel.
Thank you for the applause. Unbelievable. That's my show. That's my show. Oh my goodness. I just want to say that video, I just didn't react to it. I had a physical reaction to that video. And I want to thank you for your voice. And I want to thank all of you for your voice. And as leaders, and leadership takes different forms, as we know. There's a lot of leaders here in this room. And I want to thank the advanced leaders for saying good things to us. And after the panel, we're going to be having a follow-up activity to get people to talk about how we can better support our leaders and communities. So we have 4 questions this morning, panel. And I am going to move my chair over because I'm casting a shadow in front of Mickey. I'm just going to do that right there. I cast a shadow. I cast a big shadow. Okay, perfect. So let's roll. Let's get right into it, panel. What do you see as the most pressing challenge facing Indigenous women and girls to take up their leadership roles? And I'll start. Whoever wants to start first.
I'll jump right in. I don't know if I should sit back. I'm kind of short here. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having the opportunity to sit here and share our collective thoughts on the importance of Indigenous women and how important we play our role to ensure the next 7 generations still have what we have today. And I would say that the most pressing issue that Indigenous women face today as they take up their leadership roles is unfortunately the lateral violence that is occurring today. As we strive to live about our daily lives, we need to prioritize compassion, love, and respect for each other, recognizing that love is an inherent part of a human trait, whereas hate is a learned trait. As he says, do unto others as you have done unto yourself. But unfortunately, hate will always be a part of our world. Together, we can build a society that values compassion, values inclusivity, and respect. As caring individuals, we all possess a unique ability to uplift, inspire, and our presence here helps create a more supportive and compassionate environment for everybody. As long as we care, we will always be a target to them, for them to attack us, to try and bring us down to their level. We must continue to fight for our beliefs, for our values, and stand our ground. We have the wisdom and the guidance of our ancestors who have the unshakable resolve of 1,000, all united in purpose. By choosing to release toxic relationships, we open ourselves to a more positive connection and experience, allowing us to grow and thrive. No matter if they are family, friends, or the ones we thought truly loved us, those who have our best interest at heart will not seek to hurt us intentionally. As a leader, I have learned that confronting and managing lateral violence can be difficult. However, it can also be a catalyst for positive change, enabling teams to thrive in a supportive and inclusive environment. Leadership is more than guiding a team. It's about creating a culture of growth, empowerment, and a connection to allow individuals to realize their true potential. As more and more female leaders take on leadership, we need to understand that our voice has the power to inspire and to make real change. It is crucial that we surround ourselves with people who can uplift and support us. I believe that we can create a culture of compassion where everybody feels supported and no one is left alone. That we can choose to uplift each other rather than bullying and criticizing each other. That we can bring people together despite our differences. That we can focus on personal growth rather than punishment. There is room for all of us to succeed in life. Can you imagine how beautiful our society would be if we all simply empowered each other?
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you, Linda. Are we just going to go this way? What are you thinking? Oh, Chief June, what are your thoughts? Does anybody want to join our panel here? Okay, the question is, what's the most pressing challenge facing Indigenous women and girls as they take up their leadership roles?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Where do I begin with that one? First of all, I want to say good morning to all the ladies. Good morning!
yeah, I was very excited about coming in here today and feeling your energy, because it's medicine, right? Your energy is medicine, and I was very excited. So thank you for your presence and sharing yourself with me. That was a very moving video. It sure was. However, you know, when the Spirit goes to work, it goes to work. And the words spoken are very, very serious. So I didn't expect that to be shown. I didn't expect it to go viral. However, it did, and I think it's a good thing. I think it started a lot of organizations to take the opioid crisis more seriously and get some kind of action in motion. But yeah, it is a challenging role, for sure. First of all, because you're a woman, I'm a woman. That's probably one of the reasons why it's challenging in a male-dominated society, okay? Politics, male-dominated, Gary, for sure. However, the women are stepping up, we are stepping up, and we are being heard. Whenever I go to a chief's meeting, you see a lot of men chiefs. However, I try to connect with the women because together we're powerful. Women are powerful when they're together, when they're working together. Women are powerful. They represent so much good medicine. When they tap into themselves, there's no stopping women. They will go to extreme lengths to get things done. And why do we do that? Because we do that with our families, right? We have to take care of our families. So that's one of the most pressing issues is going into a male-dominated arena. The second challenge I find when you're coming into leadership is dealing with residential school impact, the intergenerational impact in our communities. If you're going to lead in your communities, be prepared, do your research, do your homework, see how many survivors you had in the community, look at those families, look at their relatives, and take it from there and realize that a lot of the issues in the community stem from that terrible and horrible experience. That's another challenging. However, once you figure that out, then you come to some solutions. And then I heard it here earlier with this First Lady, of course, is lateral violence. Lateral violence is very challenging. Very, very challenging. However, if you address it, you acknowledge it, you pray about it, you do your ceremonies about it, you go to your ancestors, you go to your spirit helpers, and you put it there, and you say, remove it from my community, please help me, it will get done. Woo! It will get done. We have been working extremely hard around lateral violence, and I know that they've changed the term, and I was just having a discussion with the executive director of Ottawa on the term that they've changed. And you know what? I don't change it. Because I call it what it is. Because that's what it is. It is violence. And we're going to heal from it. And when we do turn it around and it's done, which will take years and years and years, then maybe we can call it kindness. But we can practice the kindness in our community. We can practice it as we're addressing it. We need to call those things what they are so that we can fight it. And we have to. It is a fight. Believe it or not, it is a fight. And it's a big problem in First Nations. It's a big problem in all organizations. I'm going to share a little story with you on an individual who had to address it. One of the most prestige schools in Canada, he experienced lateral violence. And when he went to his professors to talk about it, they didn't have a clue what he was talking about. They said, what is lateral violence? Like, you're at the top school and you have no idea what lateral violence is? Well, there you go. There you go. See, it's in all our institutions. It's everywhere, and we need to address it. With that, Shaniga.
Jamie, let's go to you.
I do have to be put on the hot seat now.
The most pressing challenges.
Yeah, of course. I just want to say it's amazing watching your video and the power that you share with your community and the strength that I see in your words. I think when I was looking at that video, what I really thought of was I thought of the power of women, because when you were putting out all that strong energy, there were 4 women standing behind you, and more and more. And if we all stand together, our power is going to change the world. I really, really believe that. I think that is one of the biggest struggles, is remembering that we are powerful as women, remembering our power. And our power is not in competition with each other. It's amplified by each other. I was just thinking about that last night, and I've just been working on a book with a group of women, really powerful women, on the Red Dress Project that's coming out right away in May. And I was just thinking about it, like, we are amplifiers. We can amplify each other's energy. We don't have to stop it. And hate and lateral violence stops that energy. And, we are able to take that energy and multiply it. And it is amazing to think about if we all kind of step into that place of amplifying each other's energy, how far and wide we can spread our power. I think it's also very important to think about women. We were, the story is a woman was the first one who came down from the star world to here. Remember the creation story. It was a woman who created everything around us. We need to remember that role of nurturing and caring and connecting and creating, of creation, that we all carry that sacred power within us. And standing in that, and it's really hard in this world we live in. It's so hard, but I think that for me, I go back to the land. I go back in the water, like the elder was saying, go sit by the fire. If everyone's being laterally violent, go back to those places. That's where it's safe. Like, I go hang out with the trees, if everyone's getting on my nerves. Like, it pulls that, you get that energy back again, you get that power, like what you're fighting for. Not always what we're fighting against, but what are we fighting for? What is the beautiful world we want to envision? And walking towards that. Thanks.
A little hint, I work at Red Dress, so thank you so much for that. Grand Chief Linda, over to you.
Challenges. I've grown to learn challenges are only opportunities in hiding. What I feel is that the biggest challenge for us oftentimes is not just ourselves, but the fear and the oppression that have impacted our communities for many, many years. And without understanding that, it almost creates a barrier for us to move forward. I've often spoken to a lot of them over my many years, and they're like, well, you're so great, like, how did you do that? Like, how can you do that? You can speak in front of people, you can do all this stuff. And I said, well, what do I have to lose? If Creator works through us as women, through our spirits, then what we have to say is important, no matter where we are on our journey. And when we do that, we're going to make mistakes. And the amazing thing about that is the Creator gave us the opportunity to make mistakes, learn from it, and grow from it. I met our greatest premier of Ontario about a month and a half ago at his office in Toronto, and he was doing the whole, old boys club, come see my office, da-da-da-da. So of course I'm there with colleagues of the Chiefs of Ontario Leadership Council. I go walking in, checking things out, kind of guides this because men show themselves in things, makes it easier to read them. And he's like, well, let's all take a picture. So I said, well, all right, Doug, move over. Thank you for keeping my seat warm. From then on, he knows I'm one to watch. And I can tell because he's like, well, I'm gonna give you my cell phone number, you call me for anything you need, I want you to come have dinner, with my wife at our place, and we can be friends. Maybe he'll be my friend someday, maybe he'll listen and understand where our people come from. Why our lands are not for sale. Why we as women work so hard to keep our water safe. It's not only for ourselves, it's for our great grandchildren, and that's how far ahead we think. So I think that when I meet with young girls, I remember when I was a little girl and how I was bullied. They now call it violence. But I was bullied throughout school, and for the first little bit I was like, okay, I deserve it. And then my grandma sat me down and said, why are you letting them do this to you? In our language. Why are you letting them do this to you? And I think I took her message the wrong way because the very next day, I got into a fight. I won. And they learned better. But that fight wasn't just for me, it was for my younger sister who was born with FASD. She has a neurodivergent condition, and she is my greatest hero, but I'm also her greatest protector. So understanding at an early age what could potentially inflict our people. And I just came from a session last week on neurodivergent conditions and FASD and how that's still prevalent in our communities. And part of me, when I left there, learning what I learned there in that context and listening to the amazing panel of people with living experience was so profound to me. And in a way, I was thinking to myself, I know my mother, consumed, extracurricular beverages when she was carrying. And I'm thinking, hey, maybe that's where, when I was younger, I got my anxiety, that I got my depression, that I got these things. But Creator loves us so much, gives us the tools we need to work through those things, to become resilient, but also to show others how they can do it too.
I'm really happy. I have a follow-up question. Can I ask a follow-up question? This isn't on the list. Can I ask a follow-up question on this? Okay. Here's my follow-up question. Shapeshifter, it's not on the next slide, but this I believe we need to talk about because we're going to talk about it later. But following up, because I'm hearing things like louder violence and support, calling things out that need to be called out, understanding legacy and intergenerational trauma, that kind of thing. But as we look out to beautiful people who are wanting to take up and are taking up leadership roles, we are living in a time where it's scary to stand up and say stuff and do things. There seems to be a lot of backlash out there. Oh man, there's a lot of shade, as the kids would say, right? And I know we're going to be talking about this later, but what do you need from community? What kind of support do you need from community to do the work that you do in such beautiful ways? Maybe it's stuff that you see, or maybe it's just a desire that's not happening yet. But what do you need from community to keep doing what you're doing in a good way? What do you need? What are your supports? Gigi.
Well, I mean, you know, I've got such a great team in the community, and I really want to recognize them right now because they have been working consistently on their personal growth. They have tackled lateral violence. They have turned lateral violence to lateral kindness. And they're here today, and they're part of this group, and they're here for themselves. I encourage that. I personally select a group. I can't unfortunately bring them all, otherwise our band office would be empty, and my God, those men would really have something to attack me with. Can't have that. So I want those girls from my community to stand up and show these ladies that you're here and you've been talking long these ladies, when somebody gets hurt personally, these ladies support each other in the band office. There's no need for counselors. So, having a support system in place, identified in place at work. Have that support system. Not only do you need to do your own personal support work with a counselor or whomever, but at work have that support person or persons there. That helps with dealing with a lot of the challenges.
Thank you, Chief. Wow, that's great. So again, support, what kind of support do you need from the community, etc., to do what you do in a good way? What do you need from them, from your people? Thank you.
I would say the supports that we require, not only from community, it's also from our family, it's also from our colleagues. And our biggest support system, we cannot see, we cannot feel. It is inside us. It is our ancestors, it's our parents, it's our family. It's the reason why we are here, to ensure that we can continue leading our communities. We need to ensure that, we need to know that we are not alone. And we need to know that we have the support and the guidance of our team. Acknowledgement goes a long way. And when we are acknowledged for the work we do, that means we know we are on the right path. There's always going to be barriers, especially in today's society, where it seems everything has been built to tear us down. Little do they know that we're climbing those barriers. Pretty soon we're going to be at that top if we're not already there, and shining, and being proud of who we are, and teaching the next generations how to be proud as well.
Over to you.
I feel a little claustrophobic in the chair.
It's really deep.
I like we're in a roller coaster. As such is life. Community. From a personal perspective, I've always had my elders, my grandmothers and grandfathers who prayed and helped guide and not ever give me the answer. They made me come to a decision or an answer on my own, but by following the steps. And I think for today, where we're at in society, we're seeing a lot of Trumpism and how Trump's impacting Canadian politics, we see Canadian politicians misbehaving and acting badly and actually being really very childish instead of facing the real issues that our country faces. So that being said, while all these politicians are playing whatever game they're playing with our lives, leadership in the background, leaders such as myself, are having conversations as to what are we going to do, and how are we going to lead our people, and how are we going to help protect the treaty rights that exist in these lands. Those are the conversations we're having, and I'm not a psychic by any means, but I suspect, based on the language that we're hearing both from Canada and the US, they are coming for our resources. They are coming for our critical minerals, and they are coming for energy as well. Energy in the form of electrical, of gas, of oil. And we're going to see those come through all of our territories, and likely without consultation, free prior informed consent, and all of everything else that our communities require. So what our leadership needs is when we make that call to action and we make that call, we need all of us to come out and stand together. We have to show and demonstrate that we are here. No more hiding behind the keyboard, no more putting our opinions out there where they don't matter. We need to be present and we need to show up. That's what we need to do. I was teasing one of my friends and she was like, well, I can't come to this thing, you know, I don't have any money. I'm like, you can travel all around to casinos and bingo, but you can't come to this? She's like, yeah, you're right. So these are important stances that we will need to make. We haven't seen an uprising from First Nations people since Idle No More. But I know our telephone highway texting now, that many of our warriors are just waiting. Because I know I can make one call and I'll have this whole province shut down by the people that I know, the warriors that we have, the people that have relationships for years. When I was always involved in standing up, being present, participating. My late uncle would bring me out to these things, and I've done so with my son and my little girl, because it's important that we are not afraid or fearful of any repercussion, because who's going to take out an entire room of beautiful women? Nobody in their right mind would. But that's what I mean. You're correct. We are more powerful together, and it's our women. We need to lift each other up, hold each other up. Fun fact, my whole life of public school and high school, I was bullied only by girls. That's it. Only by girls. But I still love our women. But that just told me that, you know, we're in different spaces. We are all living through different traumas. And that when we come together as women, we are smarter, because that's what Creator gave us. Sorry, Stan?
I completely agree.
We're strategic because we are mothers, we are grandmothers. We know how to deal with toddlers, and therefore we know how to deal with Trump and Ford and Poirier and all of those other guys. But we also have a really another powerful human being in our room today joining us, and that's Jody Wilson. Holy cow, he's on the Prime Minister. We should all do that. But that's what we need. We need to share these stories. We need to lift each other up. We can't be violent against ourselves, against other women in our community. We don't know someone's story. We will never know someone's story that doesn't belong to us as individuals, but collectively, we have stories that will carry us through generations, but stories that will also connect us and make us stronger together.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Okay. It's so inspiring because I was bullied as a child too by only girls. And it just makes me think about, like, where did that come from? And that came from colonization. They are afraid of us. They are afraid of our power. And so tearing us down has been the job of colonization. When they came here, it was us who were in charge. It was us who were taking care of our communities. It's still us standing here. And I think right now, in opposition to what's happening in the States, it's time for an uprising. It's time.
You're saying you said off mic. What did you say? Off mic, you said that. You had the mic down and you said something.
I said I feel it coming.
Yeah, awesome. We're going to jump back into the questions, panelists. Question number 2 on my list here is, what does leadership from an Indigenous woman's perspective look like to you? Gigi.
Okay, what does Indigenous leadership look like?
What is a leadership from an Indigenous woman's perspective look like to you?
Well, that again too is a big question, but I think working with community closely. I'm a grassroots leader. I'm right there in the trenches with the people. And that's a tough place to be. I found that being out there at chiefs meetings or conferences, except for these conferences, these are healthy. I found that the work is at home, and it makes a difference when I'm home. I spend a lot of weekends at home as well. I'm just home. And your presence is so important. You don't realize it, but the people feel your presence when you're in the community. They feel it, and it's, to me, I think it's safety. You know, I've spent the 4 years that I've been in leadership building a team. And I have for a small community, I have a powerhouse of a team. These directors kick ass, butt. I should use that term, but we're all adults. They work extremely hard. They take care of all their departments. I tell them it's about community service. Always. You work here, you're serving your community. They should be coming here when there should not be one person leaving this office angry or upset or feeling like they weren't taken care of. And building that team is extremely important, and supporting them is really important. You know, we have to live in a society where there's so much colonialism, there's so much policies, and here we are, Indigenous people, sacred, conducting our ceremonies, and knowing that we live in that day to day, and yet somebody will throw a policy at us that completely conflicts to what we're doing as Indigenous women. And that's a huge challenge, but again, you know, having a person who understands that, being a leader, that you make sure you do your homework and you understand your team, and you're there to support your team as they're working. Thank you.
The question is, what does leadership from an Indigenous woman's perspective look like to you? Francie.
Sometimes it feels like you're taking care of a bunch of kids. I told my council one time, I said, stop acting like toddlers. All the women I've worked with over the years, our priorities have always been the wellness of the community, the healing. And also part of that healing is making sure that, you know, the children have an education, that we have homes, that we have food, that we take care of the land and our resources around us. And I find that that's where women in leadership are very principled and knowledgeable. There's also many of our women who've been around a long time and watched a lot of things happen over the years. And listening to, I don't want to call them elders, they'll be offended, but they are elder to me. They're my elders. Anybody a day older than me is my elder. I'll preface it that way. They know the cycle of how things have gone on, and it's been cyclical. But as part of that cycle, we've seen our First Nations really succeed in the incremental changes needed, where we can, at a point in time, finally assert our laws, really hold on to the jurisdiction that we have, and really rebuild our communities from a space of our First Nations perspective. It's Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, you know, we have many nations across this country, and until then, those structures that Chief Black talked about, the policies that often get thrown in our faces, is where we just get another hurdle put in front of us, but it's something we can bust down and change. But we can only do that together.
The question is, what does leadership from an Indigenous woman's perspective look like to you?
Oh, yeah, and then for me, it's me being in labor, giving birth to my little girl on a Zoom meeting with Indigenous Services Canada for the water line in my community that is now there. I was in labor, I was on a Zoom meeting, and you know, it was kind of COVID time, so the broadband excuse worked, so I turned off the video. I got connectivity problems, turn off the video. A little bit of mute. I'm back. Finished that meeting up at 5 o'clock. I swear the nurses thought I was crazy. They're like, you're actually working? I'm like, yeah. Because I can do both. I can multitask here. I finished that meeting 5:15. I had my daughter at 6.
Whoa!
That's what women do. That's what women do when we lead our communities, and you know, for our families, it's the biggest sacrifice for them because we care so much. When I was Ginalpa in my community of Chiging, I was at work at 6 and I wouldn't leave till midnight every single day, pretty much. And when I was out at Chiefs meetings, and I agree with Chief Black, he will spin around. So I took those opportunities to have side meetings with political people to get things that our community needed, to negotiate those things. And I'll share very quickly, I helped co-lead the negotiations for the First Nations clean drinking water and wastewater services. It's now dead on the bill, but I realized through that process that without women at that table, that bill would have never gotten as strong as it is. When I started that work, it was a flimsy couple-page document, and it grew, and we were able to get expanded mandates to meet some of our needs, and again, incremental changes for our communities. And that's what we do. We're in it for the long game, because as women, we're always in it for the long game. We're not even in it for ourselves or this decade. We're many years ahead, and we've come to realize that what we do today will have an impact. It has that ripple effect into the future. And what kind of ripple do we wanna send? You know, Chief June Black went viral. That's gonna be rippling for many, many years. You got it.
Thank you so much. Once again, what does leadership from an Indigenous woman's perspective look like to you, Nikki?
For myself, I would say that as women, we're natural nurturers. Indigenous women, we tend to lead with our heart. We have the ability to drive positive change. And we lead with the wisdom and guidance that's been passed down to us for generations. Indigenous women leadership is about remembering, relationship, responsibility, and reciprocity. Sorry, English is my second language, that's a big word. Reciprocity. See, I can't even say it. However, those concepts cannot be separated. They're intertwined and they inform each other. Remembering who we are and honoring our ways of knowing and being is difficult, but very purposeful work. We work in relationship with each other, recovering our languages and our ways of knowing. We take responsibilities to the past and to the future generations very seriously. We have the mindset of taking without ever needing to give back. Because that's how Indigenous women leadership is.
Wow. Katie, what do you?
I think you guys said it all. I don't know if there's any more to say. I think just one thing I want to point out is what I see with Indigenous women's leadership is that it's very holistic and it's about reciprocity and it's about giving space to other women to also take the lead on what their strengths are. And it's not about this top-down, hierarchical, ego-driven way of leadership that we see in the colonial world that we live in. It's very different than that. And I definitely have been nurtured by so many Indigenous women doing the work that I do, and that's why I'm sitting in this place where I'm sitting right now. And all of us here hope to do that for all of you in this room as well. It's really nurturing other people's voices, like raising our voices together. Thanks.
Patrice, what are you most hopeful about? Chief June, looks like you want to say something.
Sorry, being a chief, there's always something wanting something. What am I most hopeful for? Wow. When it comes to Abitibi Anishinaabe Nation, or the whole of Wonka Nation, you know, I'm really hopeful that our young women will step up and lead us. That's what I'm most hopeful for. I'm investing a lot of time and energy into the wellness and betterment of our young women. They're all here, as you can see. Well, not all of them, but a good part of them. And that's what I'm hopeful for, is that these women will learn at these conferences with all of you, not just the panel, but all of you. And they're able to bring something home and utilize that information or that teaching in our home community. These venues are very, you know, they're full of medicine, they're full of spirit, and they're full of goodness. And I'm hopeful that, you know, they pick that all up and they bring it home to their families, home to the children, and home to their workplaces. I'm hopeful that we find safe spaces for all of us to be who we are. Good, loving, kind women. Woo!
Let's go to Nikki.
these questions last week, and when I saw this question, I got so happy and so giddy, I started typing real fast. Because I always try to think of the good things. There's always something good, even in something bad. And it's always, and I've been teaching that to my daughter, my only living daughter that I have left, and to my son and for my grandchildren. But what I am most hopeful and optimistic is the pursuit of purpose amongst our Indigenous people. For far too long, our identity was stripped from us. We have all had to suffer in one way or form. For my generation, my language was not passed down. My parents couldn't pass it down due to the atrocities that they seen at the residential schools. With my children's generation, we're starting to see the pride coming back into who we are and where we've come from, instead of being ashamed like we were in the past. We are now starting to say, I am proud to be Indigenous, and I am proud to be me. I am also most hopeful that the impact of intergenerational trauma will lessen over time, with concerted efforts towards healing, awareness, and breaking these negative cycles. It is our adult responsibility to grieve our losses, to process our pain, and to forgive, and to heal ourselves so we do not pass this trauma on to the next generation. Intergenerational trauma, while challenging, can be addressed and mitigated. It may not completely go away entirely, but we also need to know, while we do carry intergenerational trauma, we also carry our intergenerational strength.
What are you most hopeful about?
I'm really hopeful in seeing the work that women are continuing to do, that I've seen done all across the country. Traveling with the Red Dress Project over the years has just connected me with so many powerful groups of women from coast to coast across Turtle Island. And like I said, I see that power amplified everywhere I go when these groups of women get together. And so seeing that we've been doing that for hundreds of years, coming together, healing together, creating together, and I hope that that will continue on.
Excellent, thank you. What are you hopeful?
I'm hopeful that Jody Wilson-Raybould builds a school and teaches us how to take on Parliament and be in there. All of us. Every single one of those seats. Other than that, growing up, I was a real res kid. Still am. I love the res. It's a beautiful place. It's my home. What I like about my home is being in the bush. It's where I've always been since I've been raised. Trapping, fishing, hunting, and then making a garden. And the cool thing about making a garden is I get to learn how to drive a tractor. And we get to harvest and eat for the entire year what you grew, knowing that it's healthy. Berry picking, all of those things. And then growing up, playing sports, learning about ceremonies at a very early age with my grandmother when I was still hidden. And then playing sports, and then realizing, hey, it's pretty cool stuff that I can do, that I figured out, and I want to be better than every single boy I run into. So that was my hopefulness in life. Doing that, you learn how I graduated civil engineering, advanced diploma. Did that. I was the only woman in my class, but also the only Indigenous First Nations person in my class. And probably the first ever to graduate from that program in the history of that school. After that, I said, I think I want to go work in the bush, so I did. So I already knew how to operate chainsaw, do all that stuff at home. And then got to learn how to drive a skidder and harvest trees. And then I got into road building, running an excavator, a dump truck, a bulldozer. How cool is that? I'm like, I'm gonna learn how to do this. So I did that. And then home called me, said, hey Linda, we voted you to do something. Became a counselor. Started getting involved with all sorts of other things, from health to lands to resources to just everything. So my hopefulness is for all our young women and girls, and even our women of today, that never be afraid to do something, never be afraid to try something new, and never be afraid to be a better excavator operator than any man you've ever met. Building in those skills actually builds into leadership and working with a team. Same as sports teams, right? We have different personalities we work with on a day-to-day basis. We have people who have different feelings going on a day-to-day basis. But always being grounded is that, Creator gave them their spirit. They have a gift, no matter what condition they're in, they have a gift, and they can teach us something. Every single person in this room can teach me something, and I'll be better for that. And that's the way I hope that we all can go on with life, from a space of resilience, a space of intergenerational strength. That people like us up here, and all of you in the crowd, you're all leaders too. You don't need a title to be a leader. That's a big colonized thing, I think. But we're all leaders. And how are we leading each and every day, whether it's our children, our grandchildren, our sisters, our brothers, our aunts, our uncles, or even taking care of our parents. And I had that honor too. Both of my parents have now passed on. And I had the honor of taking care of my late father during his last days. And she speaks about the lateral violence, and my father was diagnosed on arrested the same week. And when I stopped going to work, holy man, the abuse and violence that I faced for just taking that moment when I've never taken any time off. Weekends or evenings. And when I took that time to do the ceremonies for my dad, to make sure that once he passed on, that the ceremony was immediately undertaken in a very traditional way. That was one of the biggest gifts I've ever been taught, is that acceptance of going onto the next journey. And so my hopefulness is that through these gatherings, through our sharing with one another, that we each grow, but also inspire the next generation of women who are going to help lead our people. Watch.
Panelists, this is something that we could be talking all day. I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. But we're on the last blast, and we're only just a few minutes out before we move on. Manager Makwa is going to do an honor song for the panel. But just real quick, is there anything you'd like to say to our wonderful leaders out in the audience?
Yes, I do. If and when you take on a role as a leader, and you will, don't be afraid to do that. Take care of yourself always. And if you're not in any leadership, working on any leadership capacity, at least take care of yourself. Do that regularly. I'm telling you, we live in a world where you have to do it. You have to maintain your self-care. Very, very important. I practice that. I've been practicing that for years. I worked 21 years with residential school survivors with direct trauma, and people have asked me, aren't you afraid to burn out? I said, burn out? There's no time for that. You gotta take care of yourself, and you gotta take care of the people you serve. Be open to criticism, okay? When you're a leader, there's going to be people criticizing you. I find that as a chief, I don't take criticism personally. It's not a personal matter. It's listen to the people that you're serving, no matter at what capacity. Just listen and see if you can help them take action in some way. And always, always work on your emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is power. It is power, you hear me? Emotional intelligence is power. Yes, it is. And when you work on that, there again will be no stopping you. You will be able to ask those questions, especially when we're in a room full of men, you know, and they're dominating the meetings, right, Jody? It's like, okay, I have a question for you. A lot of times we doubt ourselves. Don't doubt yourself. Your spirit and your gut talks to you. Get up and answer right away. Don't even let it get to your head. Don't allow it that time. Just say, I got a question. It doesn't matter. Just be brave. Be brave. Because it's tough. And again, work on your emotional intelligence. And I love you. It's been an honor. You are awesome for being here.
Definitely, I'll step in, if that's okay. Just to understand that you possess a deep reservoir of strength that enables you to transform your struggles into opportunities for profound healing. That no matter what challenges you will face, you will have the courage and motivation to keep going forward. As life progresses, it will present you with opportunities to recover, gain, and insight, and to mature. You need to acknowledge your pain, take small steps forward. It will help you find your resilience to regain your purpose and the ability to navigate life's challenges. I think the most important thing to know is that we are not alone in figuring things out. And that having a strong community and support system uplifts and empowers you. That we as culturally responsive leaders and educators, we have the responsibility to break down systems of practice that has been perpetuating inequalities for us Indigenous people for generations. I'm going to skip through some of my things here, but to surround yourself with positive influences, that they can be incredibly empowering and provide you with the skills and confidence that you need to succeed. Most of our organizations that serve our communities are being led by smart, talented, beautiful Indigenous women, which isn't that amazing? Including here at ONWA and the She Is Wise conference. Look at what ONWA has done to support us Indigenous women. Can you just look around and see all the amazing work that they have done? Cora and her ONWA team has done so much for Indigenous people, not only provincially, nationally, but also internationally. I think it's important that we recognize the leaders that are doing these changes in our work so that our future generations do not have to suffer the same inequalities that we have had to. Being an Indigenous female leader is such an honor, especially when we get to have the opportunity such as when you were speaking with Doug Ford, for them to be able to say, don't mess with her. And then people are going to ask why, and then they're going to say, because she is wise.
Whoa! Whoa! I want to say, as we enter a station, thanks for not dropping the mic, by the way. My goodness. Panelists, we're on overtime, but we have 2 more comments. Any thoughts? Granted.
There's one piece of advice that was given to me when I chose to embark on a path of sobriety in my life. And I used to be, well, naturally I was kind of angry as a youngster, mostly at other people because they're picking on my sister. But that anger kind of festered over time. And where I realized that anger came from, and almost a controlling type of behavior that I did, came from being hurt, came from fear of being hurt again, because I wanted to control my situation so that nothing could ever hurt me again. So an elder said to me, Linda, in order to gain control, you've got to give up control. And holy macana, when I first heard that, I thought the elder was crazy. And I'm like, no, she is wise, she knows her stuff. Don't fight it, Linda, stop being controlling. So as the years have gone on now, I have a deeper and deeper meaning of it. And so those are the small little lessons that we have all around us that make the most profound impacts on us. Creator put us all here for a reason. My grandmother always shared the story with us, is that we're all spirits in the spirit world, and the Creator has jobs for us. And Creator asks us, who wants to go and do this job? And like eager spirits, we're like, I will. And Creator shows us our entire path. Whether there's struggles, whether there's, different things, we all agree as little spirits to come down and help. And when we're born, we have those instructions in our hands. That's all we've come here with. And when we leave, we aren't taking our clothes, our worldly possessions, and none of that. We're going to go back the same way we came in. And then we're going to share with Creator our journey and what we did to help, our people, what we did to help our children, and how we took care of our elders, and what we did in life to make things better. And that's all we got. So once I started learning all this and got out of my head, I'm like, you know what? We just gotta laugh once in a while. We just gotta laugh. And when we follow that path, then we'll be, making choices this way and that way, and we'll learn from every single choice we make, good or bad consequences. That path leads us to somewhere. And the amazing part of my journey today is I don't know where I'm gonna be technically in like the next week, but I kind of have a schedule now. But in 3 years, do I know? I know it's gonna be a super fantastic place wherever it is, because whatever I do, I want to help. Leadership positions, I was pretty stunned when I didn't get reelected in my community. I felt really hurt, and that's where the ego comes in. I sacrificed my family, I missed over half of my son's life for serving this community, and I was pretty bummed out, to be honest with you. And I'm a competitor it's in my nature to be in competitions and play sports. And then after I got a call that night, 2 in the morning, a friend of mine, Matt, from up north, called me. He says, Linda, you done crying yet? I'm like, no. It's like, well, get over it, come work with me. And I'm like, okay, you can start on Tuesday. Okay. That's what I mean. These different experiences we have in life, the people we meet every day, we don't know when they're going to come back into our lives and our path to help us. So I had the honor of working with remote northern communities, getting a different perspective, building my toolbox. And in that journey today, I found out I'm going to the White House in March.
Wow.
In the midst of all this stuff, I get to go there by invitation and to talk about our water, to go with other grandmothers, because I'm a grandma too. I might not look it, but I am. I am a grandmother now, with a 3-year-old grandson. He's such a blessing. But you know, when we say yes, when we don't be fearful of doing something, when we're like, you know what, I'm going to do it, I'm going to put it in the hands of the Creator, and whatever is going to happen happens. And one more example of that is when I was elected as Grand Council Chief amongst my peers that I served with for a long time. You know, it was a journey to even make that decision. I prayed on it, and I had an elder who had passed on who actually came to me in a dream and told me, hey, you gotta do this. So I said, okay, that's the sign I needed. I guess I'm not gonna be any more, you know, stubborn. And I stood up and I spoke to my peers and participated in a stand-up election, and I became the first woman and council chief for the Anishinaabe Nation in 75 years. And that's not me, it's women like you who have supported my journey, who come with those kind words, and who are like, you are doing great, and your stories. Everybody's story I listen to, because that's what part of leadership is the listening, is to be able to amplify voices, to take your voices and get it out there. To be that person for all of you who said, you know, I really wish I could say that in public, but I can't, but can you? Sure, I'll go do it. I'll go do it for you. And that's what we're here for, is each other, our children, and our future generations. Thank you much.
What a panel, everybody! Let's give a panel a massive round of applause! Manitou Makwa, where are you? Let's do our song! Oh, I'm so pumped. Woo-wee. Let's welcome Manitou Makwa. I'm gonna get off the stage. Welcome, Manitou Makwa.
Uju, Bagoji Joan and Wisconsin Condition Cause Makwadodam, which is talking of the credit in Dunjava, meanwhile 6 stations of the Grand River in Dunjava, which is talking meanwhile up the Nottoway and now. So my name is Wild Blue Flower Woman. From the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. My dad's Odahoe Mohawk from the 6 Nations of the Grand River Territory. I want to give first our apologies for this morning for not being present. There was a bit of a mishap on the elevator, and it was a very intense experience being on the outside while my family and a few other women who were here were stuck in that space. But it made me reflect and think upon what's happening now within our communities. Some of our communities maybe aren't in that space yet to be helping each other. And speaking from personal experiences, there's lots of things that are happening, but there's movement that's happening as well, where people are starting to say, okay, like we've been idle long enough now. It's time to stand up and stand together, and also hold each other accountable as well. And what I heard today, listening to these beautiful women speak their dead way, their truth, and we all feel a part of that connectedness to what they're saying in their truth. And I just want to say I'm very inspired by what I heard today, and it makes me want to go back to my community and share and hold our leadership accountable, but also stand with them and say, listen, like you're here, I'm here, you have every right to your voice, and I have every right to my voice. So I want to say miigwetchin. We feel honored that time was allotted for us to come and sing, because it's what we love to do as a family. So these songs are, one is an honor song, and the second part of that is a song that I learned from my father, who learned it from Alex Skeed from the Lake of the Woods area. And this second song is I'll Get You Down. Bye.